Hello, Leo Dreger here. I want to talk to you about the stat command. So let's just do a little overview of it. A lot of people were rusty on their Linux skills. So what I want to do is kind of just cover the basics of kind of how do you learn, how do you refresh, how do you keep up the speed with certain, Unix or Linux skills. So you could first just type the command, okay? And typically if you type the command, you're going to get, the help or how to find more information about that file. So you could always do a stat dash dash help and just take the instructions that the operating system is giving you. Okay, and then therefore we basically get a high level overview. So we get stat option and then the file or directory that we're interested in. So you could do L for differences. You could do F for file system. This specifically displays file system statuses instead of file status. You've got print, very much just like the format command, which I'll show you here in a second. You've got terse. This prints information in terse form. It's just a different format. You may or may not like this or use this quite often. And then, of course, the generic stuff, help, and then, print the version of the program being run. Also, valid format sequences for files without the file system. Now that would be directly if you're doing, format versus file system, so C or F here. And then, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So whenever you see something like this, the way to learn this is realistically kind of keep this at hand here. And so what I'll do is I'll just kind of bring this up in another window. So let's do a man, or let's do stat dash dash help over here. Spell it correctly. Keep that over here in this window. We'll kind of scoot that off to the side. And then clear the screen. And here I have a preloaded command here, stat dash dash format, quote, percent D quote, and then for a specific directory. Now, this is realistically what I'm going to tie to this window over here. If you want to find out what these things do, you basically just kind of stagger your windows kind of like so. So let's get them staggered, okay? And just go through the alphabet, okay? So if you want to see what it looks like in dash A, actually we're up here, access rate in octal, okay? So we just put an A in here. There you go, 640. You can change that again, see what it looks like in a capital A. All right. So octal format is the conversion of the read, write, and execute in the numeric value conversion of them. So it's read, write, and execute, and then read, write, and execute again. So 6 is read plus write. Read is just 4, and nothing would be 0. Okay, so it's translating this information right here, and then basically walk yourself through the alphabet and check these out. Here's 48. This is the number of blocks that are allocated, or you can say go directly to a capital P. Okay. So what you're learning here is kind of how these tools work, what the correct syntaxes are, and it gives you a lot to go ahead and practice with. So while I'm only going to show you, a couple here, I want you to kind of go through and then just go through the rest of these. I did the, A, B, C, D, and then you take them all the way through. Get all the way to, G and see what G looks like. You want to see what that is? It says 4, capital G. Okay. Which G is the group ID of the owner or the group name of the owner. Group ID, group name. Okay. About forensically, to tie this directly into forensics, we're interested in all sorts of stuff in here. Device number in decimal or in hex. Okay. So we can just do the D's real quick. That would be your hex. D for decimal, 18. Okay. The raw mode, group IDs, group names, the inode numbers, different mount points, different file names. You probably won't be impressed with the name, especially in a command like this that you're using, because if you notice the output, it just displays what you already told it. So the user ID or the owner, the user name of the owner for tracking down, who's the said owner. The file birth, the file access, the file modifications, the last change times, if you want to look at the integrity components, Okay, and then if you want to switch over to the file system command, there's a whole bunch of separate variables here. Realistically, you just change this from format to file system. Okay, and you'll get a whole nother set of information. I just happened that I use N here, and it says it cannot read N, but that's okay. It gives me enough information here. It still pulls the block ID, the total block size, the mount free, the inodes, the available information, and etc., etc. Okay, so now that you can practice this, then you can apply it and you can use this and keep this in your repertoire. But let's back up yet. We're not done just yet. So what we did specifically is we did the stat help. There's also the man page as well. So if you do a man page for stat, I want to point something out here. Displaying the file or system status, it shows us the convention, which we just used, stat, option, and then of course the file name. Here's your file system versus the format which we were using. And then you have some print information. You have all of this which was available in the help, no fun there. But specifically, if you look right up, let's see, it should say it in here. Let's do a man for fstat. Now I had to kind of pop over to the other cousins of this because this tells you fstat and lstat, which are other conventions that we use in Unix. That's closely related to the stat command. Okay, and so some systems will support fstat, some will support lstat. Most should support stat in itself, but you'll notice if I'm just here at the Kali command line, and if I do a stat, okay, command not found. If I do an lstat, command not found. But if I do a stat, boom, there you go. I get at least something back of it. And then I can, interestingly enough, it has the help files for it, but it doesn't have the actual command. And you'd have to go get it and install it if you actually wanted to use it. For most 50,000 foot view forensics point of view purposes, that command will do just fine. Okay, if you just grab something like Leo, I have a file. If I do an ls-lf, here you can see that I have Leo written right here, and it's just doing something to a file or a directory. You can get basic information to oops, wrong commands. Leo 2, there you go. So I did it once to a file and then once to a directory. You can see the basic thing when the file was created, the access, the modify, the change, the different group IDs, the block information. These are ultimately the things that you are querying inside of the stat command. So there's your 50,000 foot overview. My name is Leo Drager. Be sure to communicate in the chat dialog box. Look forward to your feedback, and I'll see you in the next video.